Hola Amigos! So, the Somali fraud situation just keeps getting worse. It started with Nick Shirley and some older guy going around to so-called daycare centers that receive taxpayer funding and requesting information about enrollment. So, one of the daycares, the Quality Learing Center, received over $8 million since 2019, couldn't even spell their own name right and blamed it on the people who made the sign, so they probably used a Somali-owned printing company, or sign company. Somehow, either way, nobody noticed or didn't care enough to correct the mistake. They noticed that there were no signs of children at any of the daycares, and they were met with hostility and aggression and had the cops called on them just for asking about enrollment and pricing info. So, of course, the left spun it as hard as they could, describing the situation as two strange men going around trying to break into daycare centers with a camera crew, foaming at the mouth and banging on doors demanding access to children so they can record them and take pictures of them, screaming, "Where are the children? Where are the children?" Even though the only person yelling was some deranged woman screeching at the top of her lungs and accusing them of being ICE agents.
Open up! So this is Quality Learing Center. I meant to say Quality Learning Center.
Don't open up!
They said they spelt learning wrong.
Don't open up!
How do you have ICE here, ma'am? I'm literally a YouTuber.
Don't open up!
Ma'am, what do you think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
Don't open up! We have ICE!
And then some Jew named Josh Gerstein, who happens to be Politico's senior legal affairs reporter, suggested the use of lethal force against citizen journalists by daycare workers. And then Washington State Senator Lisa Wellman, also a member of the Six-Pointed Star Tribe, pre-filed legislation to hide information about subsidized daycare centers and their operators from the public. Imagine that. One place that got like $1.3 million in funding even had a phone number listed that went straight to Tim Walz's office. Just a couple days prior to Nick walking into daycares with a camera and exposing millions in fraud, Tim Walz blamed white supremacy for the federal government looking into Somalian fraud in Minnesota, and then he defended the fraud, saying that white men also commit crimes, and then suggested that the Somalis are actually the victims here. He also basically said they're going to bring more of them in and give them even more money.
And right now, our neighbors are being demonized, our neighbors are being terrorized, our neighbors are being picked up off the streets. The antidote to that is positive actions to improve lives that go against what they're trying to do. So instead of demonizing our Somali community, we're going to do more to welcome more in and welcome people there. Instead of cutting programs, we're going to enhance them.
It's worth noting that a guy who was previously appointed by Tim Walz, whose wife also worked for Tim Walz at some point, murdered Melissa Hortman, the only Democrat who voted against healthcare for illegals, including her husband, and then claimed Tim Walz ordered the hit. Some claims about the scale of the fraud say it exceeds $18 billion, which, if that's true, that's insane considering Somalia's entire GDP is supposedly like $12 billion. Tim Walz ended up dropping out of the gubernatorial race after the expose went mainstream, and he's getting roasted pretty hard. Also, after Nick's video went viral, they took down the Minnesota daycare license lookup page on the state's website. Allegedly it was for maintenance, but they're probably just trying to cover up whatever they can. Because people started looking into other daycare centers in other states, like Washington and Ohio, and kept finding hundreds and hundreds of pages of daycare centers, seemingly concentrated in certain areas, many with disconnected phone numbers, all listing administrators with names like Hamdun Mohammed. Someone found that there are 539 centers in Washington that list the primary language as Somali, and most don't even have a street address. Someone else found that over 40 daycare centers in Columbus, Ohio, all registered to the same shell organization, the Somali Education and Resource Center, all opened and began operation on the same day and collectively earned over $14 million in 2024 alone. There's even videos of people calling these child care centers and knocking on the doors, and a lot of these places are just residential houses in the suburbs, and they're being told straight up that it's not a child care facility despite that being the registered address. One guy found like 20 Somalian daycare centers in a 3-block radius of subsidized housing in Seattle. In some of these videos, they're actually getting physically assaulted just for asking questions at the door. One daycare center even publicly announced that someone broke into the facility and conveniently stole their payroll and enrollment documents, despite local police contradicting their claims and saying nothing was stolen. The guy who made the announcement made sure to wear his $2,000 designer glasses for the cameras. Some guy named Cam Higbee found a daycare center registered to a suburban house that received like $900,000 since 2023. He recorded himself knocking on the door and was told there's no daycare center there. He found that their license capacity was 9, and that according to public records had room for 6 more kids, meaning they only had 3 kids and for some reason were getting like $900,000 in 2 years, with the occupants of the house saying that no daycare even exists. Supposedly the way the scam works is a family will buy houses close to each other and then tell the state that they're in-home childcare providers, and then since they're both technically working, they apply for state-subsidized childcare and then get approved to run a fake daycare center pretending to watch each other's kids. And then these people are Muslim, so the men can have multiple wives that are technically single mothers since the U.S. doesn't recognize polygamy. And then, since they're single mothers, each one is eligible for benefits. Instead of actually investigating and looking deeper into potential fraud, the mainstream media targeted Nick and started running hit pieces on him for exposing the fraud. Reddit mods are centering the discussions on the topic, of course, and now people are starting to uncover more fraud schemes involving medical transport and assisted living facilities. There's even older news clips from like 12 years ago about investigations involving like $100 million in fraud that are resurfacing, so this is not a new problem. In response to Nick's video going viral, Somalis started posting videos on TikTok like straight up threatening to kill people if they don't mind their own business. Like, check this out.
The fastest way to live longer is to mind your fucking business, bitch.
They started calling them racist, accusing them of being terrorists. They started calling Nick a pedophile, which is probably why they chose childcare centers as their fraud business of choice, because then they can just accuse anyone who investigates them of being pedophiles. This guy said the only people who care about the Somali fraud are people who have no life and have too much time in their hands.
Only Americans who's concerned with the Somali business is the ones who have no life. They have a lot of time in their hand. They broke. They don't have no money, no ambition, nothing. They don't even have hobbies. They depressed, they lonely. You know, there's always those type of people who care about situations like this. You know, people who have something going on for their life, right? They're busy in their career, their family, they taking vacation, they're enjoying their life. You know, they're not concerned with the Somalians in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Only people you will see who's worrying about this is not even racist. They just broke. They just don't have anything going on. They're broken spiritually, physically, and financially. That's what it is. They don't have any.
Some Somali lady even told Nick to his face that she was afraid of him because he's white. It blows my mind that these 70 IQ tards are arrogant enough to come here, steal from us at an unimaginable scale, and then become aggressive and hostile when questioned, and then defend it by trying to label anyone who investigates it a racist pedophile. And then we have Somali public officials openly talking about efforts to improve Somalia. Like, these people clearly have zero intention of assimilating into our culture. They're just here to loot our country, they just want our stuff, and they hate us, so they feel justified in stealing it, and they feel entitled to come here and steal it because they're told that this country is illegitimate since it's on stolen land, like this little girl.
Support everyone, and because like people deserve to be here, because we shouldn't be illegal when this is literally like stolen land.
Obviously our own government is in on it. Tim Walz literally just said they're going to bring more of them here and give them more money. Not only that, but a 23-year-old with a YouTube channel and a camera and some public records just walked into these places and uncovered potentially hundreds of millions in fraud, which caused a domino effect of other people uncovering more fraud in more states, which apparently is something our intelligence agencies couldn't do with the billions in funding they get. Daycare centers in Minnesota also made like $35 million in political campaign donations in the last 2 years, so it seems like there's a lot of money laundering going on here too, probably. Also, another fun fact, Somalia's ambassador to the UN was formerly a daycare administrator in Ohio. What a coincidence. Well, that's about all I've got for you for now, so if you liked the video, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.
It's so cold here, must be all this ice on my wrist. I am the captain now. Ayo, bitch, give me that tax money. Enter on conduct the fair businesses. One day if you study hard enough, you can be just like me. Who cares? Send those taxes my way. I just bought another man.